of Pucks Across Borders is brought to you by the one, the only First Round Collectibles. Looking for some hockey cards, the Winnipeg Jets, they're hot right now. First Round Collectibles, they'll for sure have that. You look for some boxing, maybe a little Mike Tyson. He's fighting this weekend. They'll have that too. Whatever you need, First Round Collectibles will have it. That is the number one, STRoundCollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah. I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back.
Welcome to Pucks Across Borders. It is Wednesday. We are here. We are happy. Hope you're doing well. It's just me today. My name is not Best Bets. My name also is not Mark Sauter, but you can follow Mark at Sports Addict Mark on X, Twitter, whatever you call it. Watch us on X at his account at Total Apex Sports, YouTube at Sports Addict Live. I am Andre. You can follow me at Tower Talk Sports. Going to break down yesterday's games for you. We're going to get into today's. There's 5 games on the schedule in the NHL. But first, we got to talk about yesterday, of course. It was a busy one. And let's get it started in Ontario. A battle that once again belonged to the Ottawa Senators. They took on the Maple Leafs, and they shut out the Maple Leafs 3-0. They took yesterday's matchup. They've kind of owned Toronto of late. I know it's not a rivalry per se anymore, but the Senators are making them pay. The Senators are on a roll. The Maple Leafs do play again tonight. We will talk about them in a bit, but good for Ottawa. Nice little win there, 3-0. Moving on to something that doesn't happen very often. We don't hear about this. The Jets win in New York. I'm talking about Winnipeg, of course. They beat the Rangers 6-3. Both teams got 30-plus shots up. Two of the best teams in the league. Good matchup. 1-goal game for most of the 60 minutes. Winnipeg took a 5-3 lead. Late in the third period, added an empty netter, secured the win. They are on a roll. They're unstoppable. This historic start continues for them in Madison Square Garden. Moving down the coast, we saw a streak come to an end. The Florida Panthers took 35 shots, only one found the back of the net. The New Jersey Devils made a statement in Sunrise. They won 4-1. Pretty big game for them. A pretty big win in general. The Panthers were on a roll. The Devils bounced back from getting shut out and just made it work. Moving across the country a little bit to St. Louis, where it was a blue night for the St. Louis Blues. They were up 2-0. They blow that lead entirely in the third period. The Bruins escape with a regulation win, 3-2 in St. Louis. Both teams have been struggling. Both teams could have used 2 points last night. Both teams probably could have used 1 point last night. The Blues had a golden opportunity to get a point last night at the very least, if not 2, and they blew it. That's the story for that one. Good on the Bruins. They got the 2 points they needed as they try to right the ship. It was a pretty big win, pretty gutsy performance by them. Moving to Edmonton, they avoided doing exactly what the Blues did. They were also up 2 goals in the third period, 3-1 on the Islanders. They blew it. It went to OT, but Leon Draisaitl, second goal of the night. McDavid connected with him again. McDavid had a 3-point night. The Oilers beat the Islanders 4-3. Again, team that needs to stack points. They got off to a rocky start. The Islanders picking up a point's good for them. They continue to find ways to not win, though. So that's the news in Alberta, at least for one team. Calgary also played last night. They played the Canucks, and the Canucks snuffed the Flames. It was pretty bad. 3-1 win. Vancouver scored the last three goals of the game. Pedersen, goal and an assist. The Canucks get a nice little victory. The Flames, after a hot start, continue to struggle. Last, not least, Seattle at home. They stormed back for a big win. They were playing the Blue Jackets. They were down 2-0. No panic. No panic. They scored five straight goals, the last five goals of the game. They win 5-2. Money line, puck line, over, all on the backs of the Kraken. The Blue Jackets, horrible, horrible road trip. They were struggling mightily. The Kraken getting 2 points. Look at them. That's what yesterday had for us. Moving on to today. Again, there's 5 games. There's some intrigue. But first, before we get to the big goal scorer battle, we're going to start with Sid the Kid, Sidney Crosby. His Pittsburgh Penguins host the Detroit Red Wings tonight. These teams met already in October. The Penguins won that game 6-3. Looking at matchups between these teams in the past, 8 of the last 9 not only went over the total, they had at least 9 goals scored after 60 minutes. The lone exception in that 9-game stretch had 6 goals scored. These teams play high scoring games. Something to keep in mind here. That over 6.5 is looking real, real good. It's minus 112 right now on DK. Probably the best bet from this game. Looking for a side, Detroit is plus 120. We've documented Pittsburgh's struggles this year, especially defensively, especially just winning consecutive games. I like the Red Wings here on the road. I like them as road dogs. A little more trustworthy, more than anything, especially when it comes to stopping the puck. You expect, a lot of goals to be scored. Who's going to come up with more stops? I think it's going to be the Red Wings. That's where I'm leaning towards this one. But for sure, take the over in this. We talk about the Penguins all the time. They just allow so many goals. They're scoring at a decent clip as well, not to completely knock them. Detroit's let 6 of the last 8 opponents score at least 3 goals. Not exactly the best there. Obviously, the head-to-head history between these teams. The over is probably the best way to bet on this game. Moving to the nation's capital, America's capital, of course. I guess Canada, their capital does have a NHL team, but we're talking about the Washington Capitals hosting the Toronto Maple Leafs. Toronto played last night. We just talked about that. They played in Ottawa. They played in Canada's capital too. Look at that. They are just on an embassy trip right now. Anyway, they're on the road again. They're facing the Capitals team that's been really good at home. 7-2-0 for Washington. That's the key number. They are winning games at home. They haven't played since November 9th. They're rested. They're playing just good hockey this season. They're winning games. And it's not like last year where they're escaping an OT. They're going to sneak their way into a playoff spot. No, the Capitals are just doing everything they need to do. They're beating good teams. They're beating bad teams. They're scoring goals. They're preventing goals. The Maple Leafs are off to a good start. The Maple Leafs are having a good season. The Maple Leafs are a very good team. Auston Matthews, one of the best goal scorers of his generation. Obviously, Alex Ovechkin is chasing history with the goal record. That's going to be the story from this game. But for me, the story is back-to-back for the Leafs. They didn't score yesterday. They will score today. They won't score enough to beat Washington in D.C. They're going to run out of legs here. Washington Capitals, not just money line. Washington Capitals 60-minute line tonight. That's the lock for this game. That's my pick for it. Now, to Utah. Got the Canes, red-hot Canes. Opened their season with a loss, a 4-1 loss. Since then, 11-2, 9 of those wins by multiple goals. They're absolutely on fire. Second in scoring, fourth in goals allowed. Just tremendous hockey team. Again, they consistently do this in the regular season. And they're facing a Utah team that have hit the schneid. They're struggling. Utah came into the season. They were on fire. We were like, oh, this new team. Not new team, but new team. Just keeps winning games, lighting the lamp. Nobody can stop them. It's not happening since then. Uh, so they've lost 9 to 12. Five of those losses were by multiple goals. This is a team that's worse than 20th. If you're talking about goals per game, you're talking about goals against average, you're talking about power play, you're talking about the PK. Carolina just hasn't beat. Carolina's a flat out better team. Carolina's playing tremendous hockey. Carolina should dominate this game. Their puck line is plus 130. I love it. I'm picking them to dominate this game. Hurricanes minus 1.5 is the play here. Probably a higher scoring game. I would take the over 6 as well, just the way Carolina's scoring, especially if you expect them to win by multiple goals as you do. Probably looking at 4 or 5 goals from them alone. Utah having some issues with everything. They score goals. They usually score like 2 goals a night, right? They average 2.78. So lean over 6 in this game between them. In Anaheim, we have the Vegas Golden Knights taking on the mighty Ducks. Big favorites for Vegas, over under 6.5. Looking at these teams, they met already in October. 3-1 win for Vegas. Of course, that was at home for them, where they've been money until they met the Canes last time out. Whereas on the road, Vegas has struggled. They just picked up their first win. So this is a spot where you would think, the Ducks, they just won 4-2. They're at home. They're facing a team that's struggling on the road. They could pick up a point. I'm not buying it. Vegas needs to rebound from that rough Canes game. They already beat this Ducks team. They are better than this Ducks team flat out. The Ducks beat Columbus, who they've been miserable during this road trip. They're struggling. So I think it was more of Anaheim taking advantage of their schedule than just playing good hockey. Before that, they had lost 6 of 8. The Ducks, generally speaking, aren't playing well right now. Vegas, for the most part, is. I know a lot of it's at home, but they're playing pretty well. They are a good team. They're a very talented team, and they're a team that already dominated this Ducks team 3-1. I mean, held them to 1 goal. That's the big story. They can easily do that again. You don't really expect to hold Vegas to fewer than 3 goals. Give me the Vegas puck line minus 1.5. Maybe a slight lean towards the under, especially since it's set at 6.5. But Vegas, better team in this one. They should respond from that Canes game with a win, you would think. Last, not least, we got another team from SoCal, but they're on the road. The LA Kings are in Denver. They're taking on the Colorado Avalanche. Over under set at 6. Colorado favorited minus 142. Let's talk about the Avs. Rough start. They were down in the dumps. A mess on the ice, a mess off the ice that dates back to last year's playoffs. They've won 3 or 4 now, though. 1 loss, 1 goal game against the Winnipeg Jets. We just talked about Winnipeg. We talked about on top of the show, off to a terrific start. That's nothing to be ashamed about. Otherwise, the Avs are playing pretty well right now. Looking at who they beat, 3-2 over Nashville, 6-4 over the Canes, 6-3 over Seattle. Common denominator in those, besides the fact that all 3 wins were at home, they're scoring goals. That's what the Avs do. They outscore everybody. LA is a golden opportunity to do that again. The Kings have been pretty mediocre on the road this year, 5-4-2. I know as far as points, that's not awful by any means, but it's not that great. They just lost in Calgary a couple of nights ago. That Calgary team is struggling. The Calgary team is not as good as Colorado. This is a tough test for the Kings. I don't think they're up for it. The Avs going to keep it rolling, especially at home. Going to pick up the win. I would stay away from the puck line. I might stay away from that 60-minute line, honestly. But I would definitely trust the Avs to pick up the win in this one. The over's set at 6 and only 6. It's not 6.5. So you talk about a push if it's like 4-2, 5-1, whatever. The way the way Colorado games go, you got to go with the over, right? I mean, they allow a ton of goals. They score a ton of goals. Their games tend to finish over the total. And with it set at 6 and, They're 10-5-1. You're talking about the over in their games this year. It's the best way to bet this one as well. So I like the Avs money line. I'd put it in a parlay, but the over 6 won't still set at 6, at least on DK. That's what it is. I feel like you got to take that. You don't get that very often with this team. Moving on, there's only 5 games today. So best bets time brought to you by the one and only First Round Collectibles. Talked about them at the top. Any card you want, any sport you want, they got it. First Round Collectibles, number one, STRoundCollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans. The best bets for this game. Uh, no input from Mark yet again. I know the tag says I'm Mark. It's not up right now, but I'm not Mark. The best bets for this game, over 6.5 in Red Wings at Penguins. We talked about it. 8 of the last 9 matchups finished with at least 9 goals between these teams. The lone exception finished with 6 goals. Penguins been one of the worst teams in stopping pucks all season long. The Red Wings let 6 of the last 8 opponents score at least 3 goals. They've met already this season, 6-3 game. Very easy win for the over. That's the lock of the night, especially for that 7:30 slate because there's only 2 games there. Very neatly, the next best bet is at 9 o'clock. The Carolina Hurricanes, absolutely unstoppable right now. They're tearing through everybody. -1.5, +130. Top 5 in scoring, top 5 in goal prevention. They're facing Utah Hockey Club, I guess to be proper. That's in every aspect of the game, just kind of mediocre, below average, whatever you want to call them. This really shouldn't be a contest. It really shouldn't be close with the way Carolina's playing right now. So expect the Canes to roll through Salt Lake City. Take that puck line. I have it +130 right now on DK. Last, we have the Vegas Golden Knights -1.5 at +110 in Anaheim. They've already beaten this team by multiple goals this season. They're just flat out better. They got their first road win out of the way. They're capable of actually winning on the road. Novel concept, I know. The Ducks are struggling. They've lost 6 of 8. And really just that win against Columbus, I think, was more a product of Columbus being really bad right now than Anaheim playing good hockey. I mean, they did what they had to do to pull out the win, but they took advantage of their schedule as well. I don't think they can do that against Vegas, so I'm taking that Vegas puck line tonight on the road. 3-pick parlay, again, over 6.5 in Red Wings at Penguins. Puck line for the Canes, -1.5 tonight. Vegas Golden Knights puck line as well. DraftKings has that parlay currently set at +814. Thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate it, whether it's live or in the future. We will be back to talk about Thursday's games. Make sure you tune in for that. Enjoy your Wednesday. Enjoy your week. Have a good one. Just me today, but Mark appreciates the support as well. Does say hi. Out.